Welcome back from the break. The Consolidated Bank is the second biggest bank in the country, and Samsung has a new release. Those stories and others in our summaries tonight.
The newly established Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited has overtaken Ecobank Ghana Limited to become the second biggest bank by branch network in the country. After consolidating the operations of 5 S12 banks, CBG's location points came up to 175 in 9 regions compared to 67 locations in 8 regions for Ecobank, which has been operating in the country since 1990. The total cost of the ongoing banking sector cleanup by the central bank could see the nation's debt to GDP ratio cross the much-dreaded 70% mark by end of year, according to ratings agency Moody's. Its analysis shows the country's debt burden will reach 72.4% of GDP by the end of this year, before declining to 68.9% by end 2019. The Ghana Cocoa Board is rolling out a number of interventions to boost cocoa production in the country. This follows a decline in the production of the crop over the last few years due to a number of factors, including overaged cocoa trees, switching from cocoa farming to cashew, and rubber plantations by some farmers in parts of the country, among others. Samsung Electronics Company today announced the latest addition to its premium Note series with Galaxy Note 9. The Note series has been recognized for including the company's latest groundbreaking innovations. The Galaxy Note 9 builds on this legacy with a premium smartphone that delivers the ultimate in performance, a new S Pen with connectivity for the first time ever, and Samsung's most intelligent camera yet.
We want to bring you more of the day's stories, and the Ghana Statistical Service has completed work on rebasing the Consumer Price Index and inflation figures. The process, which ran for more than 6 months, sees new additions onto the consumer basket to be used for the calculation of inflation figures. Ebenezer Sabute has more in this report.
Conducted every 5 years as a measure of reviewing the data on goods and services collected for the purposes of churning out inflation rates. The new review extended the number of markets used for the survey from 42 to 44, as well as adding about 200 additional items onto the measuring basket. The data, which is expected to be published on August 15, was collected between the period of January and July 2018. Esuo Afram is the head of economics at the Ghana Statistical Service.
How much people go to the market and buy items? If you take, there are so many items on the market. The best thing for everybody like for us who go to the market, the best thing for everybody to have is that you go to the market, you buy an item, and maybe buy an item for, say, 1 cedi or 2 cedis, and for about 3 months or 6 months or even 1 year, you go to the market and get the price of the item at the same price. But when you go to the market and the prices keep on changing, that's what always becomes a problem. You see, so this CPI is a way that we measure and see how much the prices, the changes which are coming into the prices. So that if you buy an item for 1 cedi last month and you go and see 1 cedi 20 pesos, how much is that? Because how much the price have changed helps everybody, whether the government or whether investors.
So doesn't mean you are doing for only CPI and inflation?
Yes, currently we are doing for CPI and inflation.
He also disclosed that the Ghana Statistical Service has been engaging some stakeholders, including the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance, to make available their inputs before the completed data could be published.
Because we want to make sure that whatever we are bringing out is as open, and we also have the inputs of our stakeholders. When we say stakeholders, it's like companies, customers. If you see how the companies take care of their customers, whatever you are doing, we need our stakeholders who are customers to know in advance and also know what is happening so that they can also adjust it. They will also adjust themselves and put all these things. When they are also doing anything, they can put it on this. Oh, we know that new numbers are coming from Ghana Social Service. So how are we also adjusting ourselves? If they don't know, and it comes out on them, it's also not good. So we involve everybody, and we also incorporate suggestions and recommendations, everything to
what
so
are
that
some of the new entrants into this rebasing?
What are the
new items that have been added?
In fact, if you look at the new this new rebasing, the basket, the old one, the basket for the old CPI was 267.
It is expected that the methodology in measuring GDP, inflation and other economic figures will change after the entire process.
The Ghana Investment Promotion Center has lauded the central bank's efforts to sanitize the banking sector. CEO Yofi Grant made this known at the launch of the 17th edition of the Ghana Club 100 Awards.
The award ceremony, which will be held on the 23rd of November, will, among others, seek to develop an annual database of the top 100 companies viable in the Ghanaian working space. The ceremony will award distinguished companies and businesses in the banking, mining, agribusiness and hospitality sector, among other sectors. Speaking on the sidelines of the launch, CEO of the GIPC, Yofi Grant, assured that ahead of this year's Ghana Club 100 Awards, his outfit will carry out all necessary investigations before shortlisting companies.
Bank of Ghana has been brave and bold to exercise this regulatory overhang. I think it's a very positive signal. And a couple of investors I've spoken to have been very happy with that. That yes, they are doing the right thing and ensuring that people's deposits and the sanctity of the financial system is maintained. So for me, it's a very positive signaling. It's unfortunate that it creates a bit of panic in depositors, but as relates to the most recent development of the consolidated bank, I believe that depositors' monies are secured. But it's a good signaling, definitely, because people want to ensure that the rules are maintained, the laws are obeyed, and the right things are done.
He added that the GIPC will liaise with auditing firms to get more information on shortlisted companies and businesses.
I expect that we will do a more rigorous testing and a more rigorous ranking and encourage a lot of the new companies. Like the representative from EY said, it's not about size. It's a number of factors that you cumulatively put together and weight them. And so we are pretty sure that we have quite a good template in which to put companies in the club. Well, yes, we will seek their advice on companies that we actually list as to whether they have any regulatory issues. Because what you don't want is a reputational risk attached to the Ghana Club 100 ranking.
After these.
Winners of last year's category of Company of the Future, Dream Consult Enterprise, were awarded with a pickup truck.
Now, the ARB Apex Bank says the current tax regime is stifling growth of rural and commercial banks. Managing Director Kodio Mata acknowledges tax is essential for national development, but says the 25% tax rate is enormous. Speaking at the commissioning of Akumadan Rural Bank Limited, he called for concession for these banks.
Mr. Mata believes the tax concession will enable the RCBs adequately carry out their social responsibilities.
Recently, the tax has been increased to 25%. We would like to appeal to government to reconsider the tax rates on rural and community banks and reduce it to, say, 12.5%, so that the rural banks will have some level of relief and use the tax savings to do things for the community. They could be asked to use the savings to support education, health, security, and things like that. They can also ask the rural ARB Apex Bank to monitor what the tax savings have been utilized for.
Akumadan is a major tomato and other agricultural commodity production hub. Economic analysts believe the advent of the bank provides opportunity for financial inclusion for residents for agricultural expansion. Global Investment Bankers, which is behind the initiative, is optimistic the local economy will benefit from the bank's presence. Isaac Kwatim Bedu is president of the Global Investments and executive director of the new bank.
Microfinancing and serving the unbanked rural folks. So in our case, we also realize a gap where most of the banking or the bank public is lack of information regarding financial services, and that's where we're going to also look at and preparing some public educational training regarding banking and financial service products. Even borrowing, there are clients who, the fact that loan is made available, they want to borrow and without knowing how to manage the loans. And therefore, we think that educating the client before the decision to take to borrow and what to use the money for and how to repay is very, very important, because a loan is taken for the money to work so that we'll be able to pay the loan. But we don't borrow money from a bank and consume it and spend it on maybe consumables. You borrow money to turn it around into your business. Therefore, we must emphasize that when we are training our clients. So we are coming up with different forms of training models we're going to give to our clients.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Debra.
In other news tonight, CEO of network marketing firm Max International Ghana has hailed the government for its business-friendly policies which put the country on the radar of prospective investors. Beginning his week-long nationwide tour today, Joe Voitiki told Joy Business that Max International was hoping to increase its investments in Ghana, which will create more jobs for the youth. Charles Aite has more.
Max International Ghana, an industry leader in the production of wellness and weight loss supplements and products, has gained roots since its inception in the country. Chief Executive Officer of networking firm Joe Voitiki received a rousing welcome by agents and supporters alike when he touched down in Ghana. Speaking to the media upon his arrival, Joe Voitiki stated that Ghana is the most business-friendly environment in the SAP region.
We work together to build something special. And that's what's going to happen. This is one of the greatest countries on earth. I can't think of a better place to be. I love coming to Ghana. It's amazing. That's what they should expect. They should expect that we will give them our best. You know why? Because they're worth it. Every single person here is worth my best, it's worth my son's best, it's worth Max International's best, it's worth the best of any company that wants to come to this great country and do business. So you'll get our best.
With barely 3 years of its establishment, Max International Ghana has paid over 60 million Ghana cedis as commission to its associates across the country. Joe Voitiki says the company hopes to expand within the coming months.
So we've paid out, I'd say in the last 3-4 years, 200 million Ghana cedis. So it's been a big success in terms of paying out commissions. But again, that happens because we work with each other. We partner together. We've gone through some tough times, we've gone through some great times, but the thing is, we do it all together. Open communication, building trust, building relationships. That's what big business, that's what good business is based upon, and that's what lasting business is based upon.
Max International Ghana aims to empower people around the world to experience better health, success, and significance.
You're watching Business Live. Time to bring you our main story for tonight. We are talking football. Well, the English transfer window has closed ahead of the new Premier League season kicking off tonight. There were mixed fortunes for the top flight clubs on what turned out to be a busy deadline. We'll have a discussion on the transfer markets in a bit. First, a preview of what happened yesterday. Watch this. Well, so those were highlights, and who better to join me do the discussion than award-winning journalist Benedict Owusu. I like to call him the reigning sports journalist. Benedict, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me.
How much of a big deal is the transfer market?
It is a big deal. I mean, this is a time for clubs to bring in new players and also to ship players that they don't want to work with. So especially if, let's say, a team like Manchester United want to strengthen their team going into the start of a new season, they have an opportunity to do that during the summer transfer window and also the January transfer window. So there you bid for players from different clubs. You can bid for any player anywhere in the world, and also you can sell players to other clubs as well. So it's a very big deal in the football calendar.
Tell me what the trend has been over the years, because we're hearing that £1 billion was spent on this season when it comes to the transfer window, but that is still lesser than what we saw in previous years. What has been the trend and what happened this year?
Well, actually, this year it was 1.2 billion was spent in the summer transfer window, which actually falls below what's been happening in the last 5 years. You know, in the last 5 years, clubs were doing a lot of business buying in players, but this year the figure came down to 1.2 billion as compared to what happened last year, which was 1.43 billion dollars. That was the amount of money that was spent on players movement in Europe and elsewhere. But specifically, what's been happening is that now things have changed, and to borrow the words of Liverpool's manager Jurgen Klopp, he says the transfer market now is a crazy market. So what happens now is that clubs are selling players at outrageous prices. After the Neymar's deal from Barcelona to Paris Saint-Germain, where they paid 222 million for his buyout clause. Now what's happening is that players, in terms of the money tag on players, is going up. So it becomes very difficult for you to get a player below 50 million pounds. Previously, you get a player for less than 30 million. A good player will cost a club not more than 80 million.
Wow.
But now things have changed, and now they're quoting huge prices. And for instance, goalkeepers in this transfer window were bought 55, with the biggest of all happening just yesterday. Chelsea buying Kepa Arrizabalaga from Atletico Bilbao for 71 million pounds. So it tells you that a lot of things have changed.
Right. Help us understand this. Who benefits in all of this? Where does the money go? That much money. Yeah. Where does it go? Who benefits? Who is gaining much money? Who is losing
So
money?
it's in three phases. If you are not under contract and you're a free agent, the player gets all the money. So let's say you play for Manchester United, and then your contract, you sign a 3-year deal with Manchester United. We are in 2018 now. You signed the contract in 2015. 3 years has elapsed. So what it means is that now you're a free agent. So when you leave, let's say Chelsea are coming for Dow. When Chelsea comes, you negotiate with Chelsea. All the money is coming to you. But when you are under contract, so for instance, Neymar, when he was leaving Barca to Paris Saint-Germain, was under contract. So what will happen is that Paris Saint-Germain, now Barca will quote their buyout clause for the player, which was 222 million. So Paris Saint-Germain must now give Barcelona that money, which is the 222, and then the agents involved will also initiate their own deal with the club. So they will get their money, and the club that the player is going. So for instance, Neymar moving to Paris Saint-Germain. Now Paris Saint-Germain is responsible for paying Neymar's wages, and then we'll hope that they will get money from his image rights and also selling of jerseys and all that. So that's what happens.
It's big business for the clubs and their agents and all of that.
It's big business for the clubs, their agents, and the players as well.
Like we say in our local parlance, the cocoa season
of course.
some of these people. So who are the winners and losers yesterday?
You know, one thing about the transfer window is you cannot straight away look at it and say these clubs won and these clubs didn't win. Normally what happens is when you bring in the players, you just have to wait for some time to see how they will perform. So for instance, what you can see to determine a club winning in the transfer window is the business they did. So if you're able to bring top quality players in the club, for instance, Inter Milan brought in some amazing players for just 55 million. All the players they bought this season, more than 5 players. Some came on free transfer, some also undisclosed, and the others came in at a very cheap rate. But for Liverpool brought in 4 players. Those 4 players cost Liverpool 165 million pounds. You understand?
Okay.
Other clubs also did a lot of business. So to talk about whether you lost or you won, it could be that, yes, the player came in, sales of his jerseys, like Cristiano Ronaldo when transferred from Real Madrid to Juventus for that big amount of 88 million. Now, just some few weeks ago, we heard that Juventus have been able to get as much as 50 million pounds from the money they spent through jerseys they sold and other things they sold off the player. So it's a win-win situation, and also the player's performance during the season and how you're able to use them, that could also bring you something.
You know, we have something called value for money. And so what happens if I don't get value for money? Is the club's loss?
It is your loss. So, for instance, you bring in a player and the player picks up an injury and is not able to play. You spent over 50 million for a player. The player now picks injury. So what happens? He's going to be on the bench. So you have lost. You cannot go back to the club and demand for the money. But one thing you should also know is that normally they put it in the contract in terms of the add-ons. So they can buy the call for 50 million, and there will be a clause in the contract that if the player is able to perform at this rate, if this player is able to help us get to the UEFA Champions League, that money will rise to 57. So there will be a 7 million add-ons. So depending on your performance, your club can also get more money as well.
And just briefly, tonight the English Premier League kickstarts.
Yeah.
What to expect? I know there's a lot of buzz around this. People have been watching worldwide television buzz, going to make money for advertising and all of that. What are your expectations?
Well, for this year, I think that will be one of the best leagues ever. There's been much improvement on things that have been done, especially the managers that have come in. Some new talents have also come in the English Premier League. Liverpool have done some amazing signings, and most people have tipped them to do very well in this season's league. You can also not forget about Manchester City. They won the league and still have a chance to defend the title. Chelsea doing some good business on transfer deadline. Yeah, but Manchester United, unfortunately, couldn't sign any player on transfer day. The only player they signed was Fred, which for many United fans, they are not happy about. But it's a Premier League, it's football, anything can happen. But I expect a very wonderful, amazing season.
Benedict Osu, thanks very much for breaking it all down for us.
Thanks so much for
your time with us tonight. And that's it for our main story tonight. We head to our interview of the day. And staff of the 5 defunct banks, now with Consolidated Bank, have called on the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union to help negotiate existing package on their behalf. It follows a decision by the new employer to begin a job assessment for 60 days to determine the fate of these staff. Now, speaking to Joy Business, General Secretary of the ICU, Solomon Kote, disclosed that the union has sent a request letter to the bank and receivers, that is auditing firm KPMG, to help salvage the situation.
Well, in the first place, we will congratulate the Bank of Ghana that in their surveillance, they've managed to ensure that these 5 banks didn't get to a state where they themselves are incapable of managing their affairs, but absorbing them and taking over their liabilities and ensuring that depositors, investors, and clients, investments are secure. That is one good thing. Then comes to the core issue where our interest lies. The workers whose various banks have come to a closure, and the government have gone ahead in the compliance of the law to go and create the Consolidated Bank of Ghana. Now, we are pretty much aware that the governor said there will not be immediate job losses, but his immediate has been too quick, because we thought it could be a matter of 3 months, 5 months, 6 months. But as we speak now, every employee within the Consolidated Bank have been served with a 60-day contract letter, that after the 60th day, they will decide whether they will continue to work with you or not to work with you. As a responsible union, we have stretched a hand of fellowship, a hand of support to both the receiver and then the director of the Consolidated Bank to say that the ICU, indeed, prior to coming into force of the Consolidated Bank, we have organized some of them into our union, and therefore all matters of employment that will affect them, they should also get the ICU involved to negotiate their packages for them.
Okay. So what exactly are you going to do when it comes to you getting on board with the Consolidated Bank and the receiver?
Well, we are so much apprised of the law that this is not a matter of employment that has come to a natural closure. This one, it's been taken over by law. So what the law can discharge, it will be discharged. It's under insolvency. Those negotiations are totally different from when it is severance or when it is redundancy, okay, because the enterprise itself is no more. So therefore, we will apply ourselves according to the details of the Act 930 when it comes to such circumstance.
And now comes the issue about some senior managers as well, who, by what the Bank of Ghana, what we are hearing from the Bank of Ghana, like senior directors and all that, they may also not be able to get different jobs at other financial services due to the fact that their companies have been liquidated or consolidated, or they run down the company. I don't know if that also comes to your concern, and what is there for them you can do as a union, if indeed they are part of the union.
ICU is pushing that all those top management who supervise to the point of where the bank has become insolvent should be dealt with according to law.
Our interview of the day, and as we wrap up Business Live this week, sometimes in life you have to be smart to ensure you are not outsmarted.